Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Caravelle for X-Plane 12 development update. With the next update coming soon, it is again time for a video. But this time I will do it a little bit different than the last time. Instead of going in the full details of the systems, first I would like to show you a complete setup from cold and dark until just before engine start. Because with this update it will be the first time that is possible without missing any steps. I'm sure you're all familiar with the normal checklist that you can find here. On here you see all the steps of the normal procedure, although they are abbreviated. And today I will show you the expanded checklist, so we'll follow the checklist order from here, but I'll show you what it all means. The before first takeoff checklist is a bit of a misleading name. It is not the before takeoff checklist, it is actually the first flight of the day checklist, and it starts with item 1 to 12 for the second officer, and once you've finished, the first officer or the right pilot will take over from item 13 down to 25. So before we go on board, the flight engineer will check a few things. First of all, that the chocks are in place. This is probably also a good moment to take away the pitot covers, and you can already connect the external power. Now let's climb on board, and on your way to the cockpit you hang up your coat into the rack, and the next thing you also do is open the oxygen bottle and check the contents, and if the contents are low you can press on the cylinder pressure to refill the cylinder. Okay, once we're in the cockpit we're going to grab our checklist. Item 1 says emergency battery checked. Depress the button emergency battery voltage below the DC voltmeter and check reading to be 24 volts. Here's the button and we press it and we read 24 volts. Okay, that's done. Ground power. Check that the ground power magnetic indicator is showing connection to the DC generator bus. So we have already connected the ground power. You can also do that with a click spot here on the panel. And the green indicator light shows that the ground power is connected, but it's not on the bus. You see all the magnetic indicators are black. So we take the DC power button or switch and we put it up, and now you can see that all the buses are connected. Radio, ventilation and inverter. Okay, so the inverters are below the floor and they will generate a lot of heat, so it's important to turn on the radio ventilation to ground, and it will start a fan. Now we can turn the inverter on, and we'll do the alternate inverter first, and this is always a nice moment where you can see the whole cockpit coming to life. It doesn't say it in the checklist, but you are okay to just acknowledge the master nav, so it stops blinking. Also, this is a good moment to press both of the fast slaving buttons. Just press it briefly and that will start the fast slaving process of the gyros. Hydraulic quantity alarm normal. Check that the blue and green alarm switches are in normal position. So just check if the switch is in the normal position, and you can see the safety wire now. Alternator disengage. Check that the alternator disengage switches are safety wired in position normal. If you duck down a bit, see the safety wires. AC power plain odd. Check the AC power selector to be safety wired in position plain odd, which we can see over here. Transformer rectifier normal. Check that the transformer rectifier switches are in the position normal. Yep, they are. You can play with the switches now as well. Vibrators off. The vibrators are off. Landing lights retracted and off. Okay, in a previous release I had this all wrong, and I have changed the landing light switches again. Procedure is place the extend off and retract switches in the position of retract. And they're not spring loaded, they're just sorry, that's extend. They stay there. So they're in position retract, and we start the timer. Check the taxi and landing light switches to be in position off. Taxi lights are off, landing lights are off. Place the extend, off and retract switches in position off after a minimum of 15 seconds. 15 seconds have elapsed. Switches to off. HF and cell call checked. Well, HF and cell call are not really simulated in Explain, but I've made it possible to at least do the checks. So the cell call check will be press to test and see if the lights illuminate. And the HF radio, well, first of all, you need to make sure we're not refueling. If you press to test, nothing will happen because the radio is not turned on. But now if you turn on the radio and you have power, you can press to test the tuning light. And also if you change the channel, the tuning light will come on for a period to tune the antenna. Clocks set. Check that both clocks are wound and set to the correct GMT. Also the clock, I'll just explain how it works. You can on the right hand side push the stopwatch and you can use the swing arm here to start the flight timer. Also a nice feature, in daylight or with the cockpit lights in bright, the illuminescence, how do you say that, the dial plate will be, you know what, I'll show you quickly. I'll make it dark now and you can see the clock. Turn on the lights. Now charge basically the radioactive material on the clock. Turn this off. You can see that the clock is a glow in the dark. So even if everything fails, at least you know what time it is. Okay, loose equipment checked. Yeah, well, consider it done. Static selectors, normal. Static selector, normal. And on the other side, autopilot servos on. So we go here. Check that the AP servo switches are safety wired in position on. Check that the trim EL switch is safety wired in the position on. So this is the autopilot trim switch and it's also safety wired on. JPT on. Check that the jet pipe temperature regulator is safety wired in position on. Ignition switch start. That's this one. General switch. Check that the general switch on the pedestal is guarded and safety wired in normal position. So the general switch is here. Fuel shut-off levers. Check that the fuel shut-off levers are in the forward open position. So those are the red levers. Fuel valves open. Check that all 4 fuel valve switches are safety wired in the open position and check that the corresponding magnetic indicators show white. They're functional, by the way. I can show you I'll break one of the safety wires. And you can see they close. And if I close the switch, that's fine, but the safety wire will stay broken. Crossfeed checked and closed. Place the crossfeed switch in the open position and check that the magnetic indicator shows white. There we go. Set the switch in position closed and check that the magnetic indicator shows black. Servodyne heating. Place the selector switch in the position auto. Place the left hand and right hand valve switches in position hot. Check that the magnetic indicators turn white, indicating that both valves are opened. Depress the overheat test button and check that the overheat warning light and the duct temperature master light illuminate. Okay, there we go. Test, warning light, valves close, and we have a duct temperature master warning. Check that the magnetic indicators turn black. Yeah, that worked. Place the left hand and right hand valve switches in position cold and check that both warning lights go out. That's out. And that's out. And then it just says leave the selector switch in auto position. Gear and flap emergency handles, neutral and normal. Well, we've seen this in a previous tutorial. These are normal and neutral. Hydraulic shutoff valves open. So they're on the top here. Check that the hydraulic shutoff valve switches for the green and blue hydraulic systems are in the open position. Check that the hydraulic shutoff valve magnetic indicators show white. They're all for white. De-icing master valves. Check that both de-icing master valve switches are safety wired in the open position. So in this case, you can see the safety wire is not on the guard, but on the switch. So you can actually open the guard. You can see the safety wire there. And they're both safety wired in the open position. VHF and nav8 check function. Okay, you can see the PDI is happily spinning around because it receives no signal. Let me see if I can find a frequency here. The aircraft is located at Ibiza in Spain. And I have here some notes on frequencies. Let's tune the Ibiza VOR 117.8. You see the warning lights, master nav warning lights go out. And you can see the PDI is now tuned to a nav station. And we can spin this around and it goes jumping from the to and from sector. And basically what you do is you try to find out at what radial you should be, and then you center it and you check if that matches. So you see now it's a VOR, so you see no glide slope, even though you see a glide slope flag, but that's biased out of view. For example, so we need to put something below 113 and then an odd number on the right, so 112.7. This would be an ILS frequency. Now you can see it doesn't receive a localizer, or it would be nav or lock on this slide, and the glide path is also red and illuminated. You see the master nav light flashing, push to reset. And also you see now the glide slope bar is visible, which wasn't visible when we tuned a VOR station. So if I do 113.7, that's VOR frequency. Now you see that the glide slope bar is no longer visible. If we tune an ILS in range, so for example 109.5, warning lights go out, and now you see the yellow and blue indicator, so it tells us the aircraft is in the blue sector. We receive the signal only from the blue side. Right, so now let's grab this checklist. Now you see that we have done the items 1 to 12, second officer items, and we've done items 13 to 25. Those are the first officer items.